Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Welcome to the first recording of the first episode of the new series of An Otherwise Quiet Room. This is Mandy Connell's, if you didn't know, it's Mandy Connell's interview duets series, and it's something that's travelled around a bit and been sort of performed and constructed at a lot of different venues, and this series are all going to be here at the Merri Tavern. And for those who haven't been here before, or for those people who are watching at home via the web, Merri Tavern is a newish kind of venue down here in Westgarth, which is the bottom end of Northcote. And for those who don't know what Westgarth is, it's I guess it is technically a part of Northcote, but it's one of what Barry Humphries used to call the suburbs in between, which is pretty much a suburb without a postcode. And think of Westgarth pretty much as Tasmania is to Australia. It's kind of a part of it, but it's not part of it, you know. So anyway, we've been going almost a year. We started off with a blaze of glory with a weekend of Liz Stringer here on this very stage, and it was a good way to sort of get the venue up and going. But it sort of took us a while to sort of find our feet, and I know when we first looked at it, and I remember that it's a venue that basically I run with myself, Mark Garnett behind the bar, and Greg Clengens, otherwise known as Clanger, from the Grace Emily in Adelaide. And when we were looking for a venue, Clanger said, you know, have you found anything recently? And I said, there's one down in Westgarth. I said, it's the right size, but I said, the stage is, you know, this and it's that. And initially the door to the toilets was right there behind me, so the stage was just there, so people would have been walking across here. And I said, yeah, it's a real pity, because I said, it's almost the right size. And Clanger just came in and looked and said, no, we'll just put the walkway to the toilets outside. And we looked on the old plans, and sure enough, that was where the original setup happened. People had to walk out there originally, so we just sort of reinstated that and got up and running. Like I say, about a year ago, we're coming up for our first birthday, and it's been an interesting little room to run, and I think the stuff that's really making it worthwhile for us is stuff like this, the stuff that happens early week and midweek, and it's stuff that's, you know, where it's not just about numbers, but it's about sort of doing something interesting, and so that's really what's sort of keeping the venue going now, and as some people have called it, is the Westgarth Auditorium, which sounds pretty good to me too. So it ain't a big room, but there's some good stuff happening here, and we were really happy when Mandy came and suggested she might like to do this series of shows of interviews and duets. So tonight, it's lovely that she's starting off with a dear old friend of mine, Mr. Mick Daley. So without further ado, I'd like to hand you over to Mandy and Mick, and hope you have a really good night here in the Merri Tavern, Westgarth, not Northcote.
Woo!
Thank you.
Here we are. How special is this? If you don't know me, my name's Mandy Connell, and I'm a folkie. I grew up in Melbourne, and I'm surrounded all the time by these fantastic musicians, but I really love how much passion and life goes into creating the social spaces we have here. And sometimes we forget how much love and passion goes into creating a room like this, making sure that people aren't walking past us to go to the toilet. You know, we've got a beautiful stage here. How great is it? And the love that's on the walls, all the posters from all the events that happen. And I know on Mondays we have a film night here, which is a kind of once a month event where people come and showcase their video clips or their documentaries, and it's just absolutely phenomenal. And I couldn't be more grateful to Mick and Mark for having us here for the very first of the Merri Tavern sessions of An Otherwise Quiet Room. So this is Mick Daley. Mick Daley is a legend. And I don't mean, he's a top bloke, although he's a legend as in one of those members of local mythology. Everyone's got a good story about Mick Daley. He's a gonzo journalist, he's an activist, he's a traveller and a troubadour. Sometimes he does other kinds of jobs, and he's a fantastic, phenomenal songwriter. He's a member of the Remains, the Corporate Raiders, and tours throughout all of Australia and wanders off to cover protests in other parts of the world. I'm so pleased that you're here. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Mandy. It's a pleasure.
Shall we kick off with the song?
Yes.
Excellent.
I thought I'd play the Ballad of a Wrong'un.
Tell us about the Ballad of a Wrong'un.
Yes, it was a very early song for me, and still one of my favourites. It's about a bad guy, kind of a latter-day bushranger, and I didn't want to just eulogise a villain, so there's a little motive in there at the end, which you might catch in the lyrics. I won't, explain it too much.
Stories in song.
Belle Vernon.
Right.
400 miles in a stolen car through the back streets of Victoria. He left a trail of dead bodies for the detectives to follow. He says, I'm not going back inside. Well, I'm going to see my girl, but I know I'm going to die. I'm taking on the world, and that's one fight you can never win. He always wanted to be a star football player, but the poor guy had a build like Leo Sayer. Frustration made him mean. Well, he nearly killed the captain of his own football team. He had to leave town in a hurry. Well, he was causing consternation all along the River Murray. Then he robs a bottle shop down in Bendigo, and he was only 16, and that's not a good way to begin. That was the start of a long criminal career. Well, in all the Melbourne underground, he became the man to fear. When he started killing kiddies, everything started going wrong. Even in the company of killers, he no longer belonged. When he killed his partner, everybody put it down to greed. Others said he was paranoid from taking too much speed. When he blew up a police station, everyone was mystified. But they all agreed, they said it was the drugs that did him in. Was amphetamines indeed that fueled his cross-country rampage, till a copper stopped him with a shot from a 12 gauge. A farmer and his tractor saw the showdown in his paddock. Yeah, they blew the killer's head away somewhere back of Morty Alec. Till this day the killer's story has remained untold. Well, he was bugged by a priest when he was just 13 years old. His modus operandi, well tested and tried, the boy was more dead than alive. That's the way they buried him. Yeah.
Wow. So Mick writes a lot of songs about with a very Australian theme, and to me, I think you've got an incredibly Australian sound. That's just from my perspective. I know there's a a dozen people who could tell you more specific things about an Australian sound. But to me, what you write is kind of like Ned Kelly Bush ballads, but in a modern day setting. I mean, that song particularly. But you write lots of different sorts of stuff, and I guess that has informed a few different sounds. Tell me a bit about the Corporate Raiders.
The Corporate Raiders. The Corporate Raiders. There's two of them. The Corporate Raiders here tonight.
Woo!
It's a band that Scotty was a Remains drummer, and you know, I always loved playing rock with him. And when the Remains kind of slowed down our touring days, there was a big connection there. And Mark McCartney from Crawfish Dave and other bands had approached me and said he was keen to do stuff, and I don't know, I just wanted to keep coming to Melbourne and playing rock music. So
the Corporate Raiders is really a sort of Melbourne-based venture.
Absolutely, yeah. And
totally. What about the Remains? I mean, I know a little bit about you guys from your ventures into Melbourne, but I know that you toured everywhere. So how did the Remains get started?
The Remains was a band that formed in Nimbin in the year 2000. Well, actually, we formed by email earlier than that. I was overseas, and we wanted to start a country rock band. There was a few of us scattered all around the sort of North Coast area, and but essentially we were all originally from the North Coast area, and we'd all gone further afield, and we reunited and started the band, and it was a good band, and it came together really quickly and easily, and we started touring, and it kind of just exponentially became something else. And Mick Thomas was an early supporter of the band, and he championed us and got us on his record label, and we just kind of grabbed the bait and ran.
What were you doing before that? You were overseas?
I was working in Europe as a journalist, yeah.
Mm-hmm. What were you covering at the time? Do you remember?
Well, I was a travel journalist, but that was just, the confectionery, the money.
Mm-hmm.
I got to do all kinds of things like the G8 riots in Genoa, the G8 conference in Genoa, where the young fellow was killed, and there was all kinds of crazy riots and German anarchists destroying banks and cars, and that was an eye-opener for me.
I bet.
And they would send me to places like Jabiluka, the mine, and the blockades there, and it was a great job.
So you've been to all of these hotbeds of activism, I guess, as well. I mean, they're not just places of momentous activity, but they're also places where people are gathering together to have a say on behalf of the ordinary person. And I feel like that comes across in your songwriting, or parts of your songwriting, certainly. I gotta ask, it's not a comfortable time for people like yourself who like to speak out, and a lot of people are talking about fatigue or compassion fatigue or activist fatigue, or we're all just getting tired, but you have this indomitable passion and you just seem to keep going. And what informs this? How do you keep being so inspired by the different facets of your life?
Well, it's work for me. Like I'm a freelance journalist, so I'm doing stories all the time, and we do live in very, very challenging times, and I'd rather be working and doing something and doing something for the common good, I suppose, than sitting on my ass and crying about it, basically.
Yep. That deserves a round of applause. That's a nice thing to hear, and it's the kind of thing that kind of washes away fatigue for me. When I watch someone like you say that, I kind of go, oh yeah, it's just today and tomorrow. That's all we got. Hey, I know that you did a really great tour recently with the Remains out through the Northern Territory. Was that with Desert Star?
The Desert Stars.
Desert Stars.
An Aboriginal band from a little community called Junchanjara, 700 kilometres north-east of Kalgoorlie.
Mm-hmm.
And that was an epic tour, through some of the craziest desert roads in anywhere. And we had some pretty serious incidents along the way.
Like what?
Vehicles breaking down in the middle of nowhere, sort of some hostility from some young drunk fellas in the bush. But we covered a lot of miles. We ended up getting to Broome despite an array of difficulties in the middle of the desert with all kinds of stuff. It would take days to tell the story. It was an epic odyssey, but yeah, great thing to do. And those guys want to come touring in the East Coast next year, so
great.
We're planning that.
Fantastic. Have you got a song from that area?
From that area, no, but we did have. I think we're going to do Dugout Living next, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Dugout Living was Dugout Living's a song from White Cliffs.
Okay.
White Cliffs on the Queensland border, or near the Queensland border with New South Wales. It's an opal mining town. I was up there with Tonchi McIntosh and Andrew Hull as part of the Lonely Horse Band a few years ago, and we did a story. The idea was we did a bunch of songs. We'd stay up in these places and do a bunch of songs about the environment we lived in, and this was one of them, Dugout Living.
All right.
Everyone should have one, a hole under the ground, somewhere no one can intrude, no light comes in or sound. The temperature remains the same in winter or in heat, no windows to be peered through by voyeurs on the street. It's a place you'd want to die in, like returning to the womb in your subterranean fortress, in the sanctum of your room. People don't come here to escape. They're attracted to the light of the desert and the freedom of the silent, empty night. And when even that becomes too much and you crave your solitude, you can crawl into your dugout where no one can intrude. And when even that becomes too much and you crave your solitude, you can crawl into your dugout where no one can intrude. Thank you.
I love that song. I love that song so much.
I should say I actually wrote that with Steve Teakle as well. He was up there with us as well.
Really?
I forgot. Yes.
Steve Teakle, as in our own Barry Morgan?
Yes.
Wonderful.
Before the days of Barry Morgan, he was a hobo like us.
I know that when you're a traveller, I mean, I spend a lot of time on the road as well. When I'm not in Melbourne, I'm in Adelaide or Sydney or England and one of the things that happens is you form really strong friendships on the road, and I think one of the beautiful things is being able to write songs and have those memories forever. They really lock those memories in. What does it mean to you when I say an Australian sound?
Well, to me, it's about rock a lot. I grew up on the Saints and that kind of thing. Weddings, Parties, Anything again were a big part of what I grew to understand as the Australian sound for me.
Did you grow up in Sydney?
No, I grew up in Albury, which was the first album I ever heard was Aussie Crawl. No, Australia, Albury was a great place to grow up. I loved it. But one of the early influences on me was when I was in Sydney after I got kicked out of uni in Canberra. Was Weddings, Parties, Anything.
Wait, okay, so you grew up in Albury,
Yep.
and then you went to uni in Canberra.
Yes, did journalism and was unceremoniously deported.
From the whole city. I mean,
from the university.
Okay,
yes.
sure. And so you ended up in Sydney, and who were you listening to then?
Well, there was a lot of stuff going on there. There was in those days there was a lot going on in Sydney. You would be forgiven for thinking there wasn't anymore, but Widows, Roaring Jack. There was a lot of rock bands, the Shout Brothers,
Roaring
the
Jack
Hayes
is, of
Brothers.
course, Alistair Hewlett's band, punk band from the 80s.
Yeah.
A lot of the followers of An Otherwise Quiet Room are big fans of Alistair Hewlett.
Yeah.
It's nice to give him a big shout out. He's no longer with us. But yeah, what a crazy scene.
X, bands like X, you know, there was a lot of great rock going on in those days.
I was born in 82 and I grew up in the country in Melbourne. I got no idea. Who were X?
Ian Ryland, the writer of Rose Tattoo's greatest
someone
songs.
out there who's super keen on that. Oh, nice, excellent, yeah.
Yeah, just a great rock band, incredible rock band. The Hope Town was a real scene in those days, and there was a lot of great pubs going on and a lot of great rock.
And were you playing then?
No, I wasn't really. No, I was just bumming around and getting drunk.
All right, I want to know more about that, but for now, do you want to give us another song?
Yes, we're going to do a Weddings, Parties, Anything song called Industrial Town.
And we have a prop.
From this great old songbook that was put out by the band in the late 80s, I believe.
Can we hold that up? How great is this? It's the best format ever. I mean, I thought the Moreland sessions, which is the last fully published season that we've done for An Otherwise Quiet Room, has a book. Yeah. And I was so proud that I chose a square format for it and not an A4. But I think I've been slightly outdone, and some time ago. But I'm inspired, Mick. I'll be chasing this format up for the next one. I think it's pretty great.
Menu.
It does. It is a menu. It's a menu of Widows songs, which is this is such a cool thing. I didn't even know they existed. I've never seen one of these.
It's a survivor too. That book. It's survived, you know, a million house movements and everything for me. And this song we're going to do, Industrial Town. I mean, it's definitely part of I think my activism. I think I can attribute to growing up with the Widows, because they were, they were kind of a lefty band, and they had a lot of sensibilities and ideas that were definitely took root in my head. They should have done. I used to go and see them and get drunk with them a lot.
A lot.
Yes. So it's probably definitely part of where I am today.
All right. Let's have a go.
Just hope we can sing it okay.
Yeah.
Down in the valley's so low. Lay the town over, hear the winds blow. Lay the town over, and dig it all in. For what we once had will not come again. The people are crying, the people are down. They look at the crevice where once lived a town. And it's not for the money, cry not for the blame. They just cry for a ghost town. Such a great shame. Take 6 politicians to dig me a grave. Take 6 intellectuals my soul try to save. 6 union workers, a red flag to wave, and 1 stupid singer to rant and to rave. Now old King Cole was a merry old soul, and a merry old soul was he. Fed my dad, fed my mom, and he fed us children tree. Oh, when I remember old Coach Road, palm trees by his side, kid, I remember the playground there, and every swing and slide. It's goodbye to you, my old gray friend. Soon your days are running, and they'll dig you up and tear you down. Goodbye to you, industrial town. In the morning when the sun came up on commission houses there, you can feel the ash coming from the mountains, floating through the air. Oh, but times were good and we didn't mind about the chimneys and their mess. 3 meals a day, sleep at night, we couldn't have cared less. It's goodbye to you, my old gray friend. Soon your days are running, and they'll dig you up, tear you down. Goodbye to you, industrial town. Well, time moved on, we moved away. How a young child soon forgets. 12 years later I return, I see with regret. Oh, empty houses and empty streets, not a living soul you meet. Sold right out, damned on whim. But sing this chorus, sing this hymn. Goodbye to you, my old gray friend. Soon your days are rattling, and we'll dig you up, tear you down. Goodbye to you, industrial town. Down in the valley's so low. Lay the town over, hear the wind blow. Lay the town over, dig it all in. For what we once had will not come again. Thank you. You can't buy that anymore. It's a collector's item.
Oh, then maybe we can talk them into reprinting it. I wouldn't mind a copy. It'd be good. Wow. That song, I don't think I would have heard it that many times, that particular song. I mean, it's been around. But it's a funny thing that happens because I was born in 1982, so I'm 36 now. And there's a whole lot of music that is woven into the fabric of not just Australia, but sometimes specifically Melbourne, that I've just heard at parties or around. You know, it's been played on my friends' playlists, and they've played it on their record players, and it's the sort of thing that you should have and you should know, or I feel like I should know, but I haven't really spent that much time listening to it, so it's good to get deep into the Weirdos playlist and
a lot of it came from that folk tradition too, which you're a part of as well, doesn't it? So the Roaring Jack thing, and as it says in the liner notes here, that Mick derived that song from a traditional tune.
I can hear that. I know that tune, and it's so familiar to me, which also makes it hard for me to play because my head keeps going back to that old melody. But there's a whole lot of those songs that, or songs that clearly have that influence from the old industrial folk stuff. Yeah. But I think also there's a lot of songs that we think of as traditional that aren't really, like Dirty Old Town, not a traditional song. Totally know who wrote that. It's a, and there are so many of those songs that I'm sort of starting to learn now are attributable, and you can go digging for them. So this is so much fun getting to do covers, and particularly one of Weirdos and Mick Thomas's, because we're here at the Merri Creek Tavern, which is his venue. Part of the project that we do here is that we do one of yours, and because we have an hour show, we get to have a couple, which is amazing. apparently I'm meant to sing one of mine as well. So, you guys cool if I play you one of mine? Great. So this is a song inspired by a paragraph that I read in the paper, going between. Travelling between Birmingham, England and Glasgow, Scotland to go to the funeral of Alistair Hewlett from Roaring Jack, I read an article about the suspension of human rights in the Northern Territory, and I was blindingly furious, and I was also surprised because I'd been reading The Age and I had been listening to Triple J all online, being homesick, and I hadn't seen anything about this, and apparently there were rolling tanks into the Northern Territory, into Indigenous communities, or armoured cars, but to me, same deal. And I was horrified and shocked. And Alistair Hewlett was a great writer of activist songs and songs for social change and social justice. And I figured I had to write something about this because he would have if he was still around. And Mick's very graciously agreed to have a crack at it with me as well. So this is Airport Traffic. From the bustle of the airport traffic, I can read it in the paper now. They're taking all the half-caste children from the towns where they're not allowed. Like the rating of an adult movie, nobody's allowed to walk at night. There's fighting in the streets. The night's not safe. Occupation has its own language, replacing all the words we know. Some of these kids still don't speak English. The government says it's a symptom, so intervention, good intention. No matter which words we choose, how much of the spirit gets lost in action, rolling out tanks in a dreamtime home. I just got to play one of my songs with Mick Daley. This whole thing is manufactured just for that stuff. Oh, wow. So... just a little moment there. I'd like you guys please to give a big round of applause to the whole team of In Other Words Quiet Room. There's a lot of us that come together to put this together. It's my baby, it's my idea, and I spent a lot of time trying to gather people together, but I'm so blessed to have this incredible crew. So tonight we have Agostino, Soldati and Bob Hutchison on the cameras, and Mick up the back helping out. We have Mischa Herman on sound. We also have a whole bunch of people who come and help out with things, like Claire Bly from Speakeasy Music, helping me out with ideas, which is really valuable. And my whole family, who just lets me sleep on their couches and stuff when I'm here.
And Claire gets us heaps of gigs as well.
Yeah.
On you, Claire.
Yeah, on you, Claire. So we're actually running to time, which is amazing. Which means we get to do the last two songs and our last little bit of chat. But I want you to talk a little bit about how your activism and your journalism and your songwriting inform each other.
Yep. Well, I've just come back from well, when I say just come back a few weeks ago from the Frontline Action on Coal camp in Bowen, which is the Adani front line basically.
What does that look like?
It's a camp full of idealistic young people and a lot of older people as well, a lot of hardened activists, and they're people that are pretty resigned to getting into some pretty heavy action in order to try and stop what's going on. And so I've been a journalist for a long time, and I try and write about what I see, and I actually have not been able to write about this because it's I just don't know what to say at the moment. It seems that it's being covered from every which way, every angle you can possibly imagine, and nothing's changing. So that's a new one for me. Maybe the songs will come out after a while, but generally I've got songs from blockades in the 90s and the 2000s, forestry blockades. I spent a long time in forestry blockades in the 90s. Mm-hmm. Got a lot of songs out of that. But you know, when you're in the thick of it, the songs just come, I guess. This is the song I was going to sing for this was "Everybody's Waiting for Something to Happen," which is a song that the Corporate Raiders have just released as a single. Ah. You can listen to it right now. But
where can they listen to it?
Came out on Bandcamp, Mick Daley Bandcamp. But this came out after a sustained period of action, several arrests, and a lot of thuggery from some big guys in the bush. Everybody's waiting for something to happen. Well, the dam burst long ago. The rivers always find a new way to flow, and gravity's spinning. Only half of the people fighting or winning. Some just want to know the football scores. Others want to start up a gender war. We're preoccupied with our fatal flaws, trying to feed all them open jaws. A lot of people performing, but nobody's clapping. Everybody's waiting for something to happen. Like nostalgia for something when you don't know what it is. Like a hanging out for the reformation of Bucks Fizz, where you get hell-bent on avoiding the disease. Like 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C. Someone gonna get it next and it might be me. Cause all of this geography needs remapping. Important people keeping their jaws flapping. Every one of these things is overlapping, and everybody's waiting for something to happen. So here's to keeps on scratching the record of them suffragettes. It takes years to get anywhere, only 5 minutes to forget. With the protagonists all going ballistic, antagonists reckon they're just masochistic. Getting nowhere at the end of the day, with the apocalypse only a stone's throw away. Streets are full of death and decay. People, you better hope and pray not to get caught napping, 'cause all of this geography needs remapping. Important people keeping their jaws flapping. Every one of these things is overlapping. Everybody's waiting. Everybody's waiting. Everybody's waiting for something to happen. Steve.
All right. We only have 10 minutes left. Can you believe it? Okay. Let us out, they said. Let us out. Thank you so much for being here. I know that you squeeze a lot into your travels, and I'm really flattered that you've made the time to learn my songs and to come and talk about Jimmy Dowling and Weirdos Parties Anything and about yourself. I
feel honoured. Thanks, Mandy. It's great. And it's beautiful. This stage is great.
Isn't it great? Yeah. It's wonderful. I'm looking forward to what else can happen here. Lots of great stuff happens here. You should check out the program. It's absolutely brilliant. But we have a couple more songs. And just before we do that, just give us a little rundown of what you've got planned for the next lot of tours, because I think this should be out. This episode should be out in around 2 to 3 weeks. So
I'm in Melbourne for a month.
Mm-hmm.
Got a bunch of gigs, or actually some are in Sydney and Maitland, with the Raiders are travelling up there, and then I'm going back up to Queensland basically, because the shit's going to hit the fan in sort of August, September.
What shit?
Well, they'll go in hard on the mine. Dutton and his crew will get in there. The Queensland Police won't be light-handed with anyone who's protesting or whatever. So, yeah, you can. Richard Flanagan got up at that Bob Brown convoy finale in Canberra and asked, the thousands of people there who was prepared to get arrested, and thousands of people said they were. So, if they do show up, there's going to be some mass arrests in Queensland in August, September. So, stay glued to the TV.
Or if you want to, maybe,
go there.
Or go there. Wow. Well, thank you for helping protect our country. I appreciate that. You had a really great story about a gig at one of the protests that you were at, one of the big concerts during the rally, not the protest, the convoy. There was a guy who came in. Neil Murray was playing at Claremont on the zenith of the Bob Brown convoy. That's when all the cars went from the bottom of the country all the way up to the top to protest the Adani mine and let the Queenslanders know that we don't all want the mine. Yeah.
And in Claremont, which is a town in, western Queensland, inland from sort of Bowen, they'd hired out the showground, and the locals were trying desperately to get in, and they'd been pretty aggro in the streets. Intimidating people, smashing cars, like throwing bricks at cars and stuff.
So this is a big concert held by the convoy?
The Wanganjingaloo people put it on. They had hired out the thing, and they were calling it a water festival, a water dreaming festival. And so the people who were in the convoy were there, and Monique Brumby and Neil Murray played. Mm-hmm. And Neil was in the middle of a song when this galoot comes tearing through on a horse, drunk as fuck, and roared around the outside. There's kids walking around, running around. There's dogs. There's kids. There's a lot of old people walking around. A lot of people, a few hundred people, and they came careering around the outside of the showground and into the showground, hooning around. And Neil's still playing throughout it all. And he actually stopped, I think, at one point when the guy smashed into the fence and knocked the woman over. But yeah, that was the crazy lengths they were prepared to go to just to sort of, I don't know, say fuck you to the convoy. The
And all the while,
Queenslanders.
Neil Murray kept playing.
Neil stopped actually at one
After a
point.
while.
He thought, probably a good idea to stop at this point. But then he started again when the guy had gone. Yeah, but that was pretty epic.
Well, with all the work that you do, you must get tired and be very grateful for a place to rest at the end of it. And I think I remember you playing me a really great song about getting your reward.
Your reward, yeah.
So you want to take us out with this?
Sure.
Hey, lads and lasses, please thank Mick Daley for joining an otherwise quiet room for the Merri Creek Tavern.
Thank you, it's a pleasure. This romance is out to get ya. It fills your sticky mind with substances to make you blind. Following your chart, armed with your heart, you'll get torn apart. The new world order will upset you. Don't you bother with the news, all those pessimistic views. It'll take control, nullify your soul, make you work for the dole. One day you move more slowly. Your every breath will be holy. That is your reward. That is your reward. Napoleon stared into the distance, standing on the Elba shore, heard the cannons fly once more, cutting through the ranks. If he'd had tanks, we'd be getting paid in francs. It was a bitter disappointment, the way you languished at the door, missed the last train to Lismore. That's the way it goes, your silly gutter prose. It was your moment, I suppose. One day you move more slowly. Your every breath will be holy. That is your reward. That is your reward. They'll deny they ever met you. All those folks you once admired, now they're getting old and tired, shuffling through the night, running out of fight. Their politics are shite. All right. One day you'll move more slowly. Your every breath will be holy. One day you'll move more slowly. Your every breath will be holy. That is your reward. That is your reward. That is your reward. That is your reward. Thank you very much.
You've been watching Mick Daley and Mandy Connell at the first of the Merri Creek Tavern sessions for an otherwise quiet room. Thanks for coming.
Thanks, Mandy. Lovely work.
From the bustle of the airport traffic, I can read it in the paper now. They're taking all the half-caste children from the towns where they're not allowed. Like the rating of an adult movie, nobody